Hi, my name is Nathan Neal from nathanneal.com, and this is our first programming tutorial for C++. In the last tutorial you installed the Visual Studio C++ compiler, and we're actually going to get into using that today. You don't need to get anything up yet. What we're going to do first is go over some of the basics of C++ programming so you have a general understanding about what you're doing when you're writing this code. So the first thing we need to talk about is how do we program in C++. When you write a program, you need two programs. One is called an editor. Some people write their code using Notepad or Programmer's Notepad. But the nice thing about Visual Studio Express is that it has the editor built into it, so you don't have to have a separate piece of software. And Visual Studio Express C++ also has the other program that you need, which is the compiler, which builds your program into an executable file that you can run on your computer. So it does both the jobs, so you really only need just that one piece of software. Now we're going to get into some of the basics of C++ programming, and we're going to get into basically the main setup of any C++ program. Now our program is going to be really simple, but it'll get you into what you need to do to write a C++ program. Now, this is the code for our first C++ program, and what I'm going to do right now is explain to you what each line of code does so you know the basic framework of a C++ program. The first line in this program is pound, include, and then IOStream. Now what that pound does is start the preprocessor, which looks in IOStream to find what parts of that header file, and that's what IOStream is, it's a header file, you need for this program. In this program we're going to be outputting text, so it'll get what it needs for this program to operate. So for the cout command to work, what we have right here, for that to work you have to have the IOStream header included into your program. Below that you see using namespace std. What that says to the compiler is that you're using the standard namespace. You'll probably use this in every program you write. What you see after that is int main, and then the two parentheses, and that initializes and starts your first, the main function of the program. You could have several functions, and the main function is in every program you write will have the main function, and that is, tells the program what to do. The int next to int main stands for integer, and that means that function is going to return an integer value. That's a number. And you see down here at the bottom of the program, it says return 0. And what that does is when it returns 0, it knows that the program ran correctly. If it returns another number, then something went wrong with the program. Okay, so we went through the function. So that's what the function looks like, the int main function. And you'll notice that there is a semicolon after the namespace std, and there's colons after the cout. And each statement you have in a C++ program, you need the semicolon. You don't need it for the to include the header files, and you don't need it when you're setting up your function. For example, main doesn't have a semicolon after it. Now, you see these two brackets here. That's where the actual code for that function is. The code for the function main is inside of these two brackets. You see you have the open bracket, and then we have the cout statement, and then we have the system pause statement, and then the return 0 statement. The cout tells the compiler that we're going to output something, and in this case we're outputting welcome to C++. And these less than symbols are called insertion operators, and that is what sends this line of text out into the console window. You'll see this \n after the welcome to C++, and what that does is you won't see that in the console. What that does is starts a new line. So when the compiler sees the \n, that tells it, you know what, I need to start a new line. You see below there we have system and then pause. What that does is tells the program to wait and not automatically close. it's not waiting for you to input, a value or any sort of variable. So what this program is going to do is it's going to output the text and close, because that's what it's supposed to do. But we want to be able to look at it and see that it says, "Welcome to C++, so we need to tell it to pause. So that's pretty much the basic setup of a C++ program. This program's a lot simpler. It's basically as simple as it gets, and we're going to get into some more complicated stuff later. But for you to start programming in C++, you have to understand the basic foundation of how the C++ programs work. Now, the next thing we're going to get into here is commenting, and commenting is very important. For example, if you're working on a project, and say you and another guy named Jim, you're working on a program, and you're working on it together, and you work on some, and then Jim works on some. If Jim's looking at your code, he might not know exactly what each line is supposed to do, since he didn't write it. This is really helpful in more complex programs, but it's important to get used to commenting in the beginning. Because, for example, if I write a big program, and I finish it, and I come back to it a few months later and I want to revamp it and add more features to it, if I don't comment that program, I'm not going to remember why I put certain lines of code in there, because there's just so much there. So it's important for me to comment so that I can read those comments and know what I was thinking when I put that code in there and what exactly that code does. So to do a comment, you just do 2 forward slashes and then type, for example, this is a single line comment. The 2 forward slashes are a comment that is just on one line. And you can even put this after statements. Now the forward slash and the asterisk, that starts a multiple line comment, and when you do asterisk and then forward slash again, that ends it. So you can see there the basic setups of those comments, and you really need to get into a good habit of using comments, because trust me, it'll make things a lot simpler later. So here I used the same C++ program, except this time I put a few comments in, and up here at the top I used a multi-line comment. It says program that displays welcome to C++, and then made by Nathan. And then I have our program here, and you can see I put a single line comment right before the welcome to C++ that says display some text. So I can read that and know that, oh well, this following line is going to display some text. So that really helps me know what the program is, and a lot of people use the multi-line comments at the beginning to display descriptions of what the program is and who made it and the date it was written on. So really that's a good habit to get into. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get into the actual compiler, start it up, and we're going to write this program and we're going to execute it, and then you would have created your first C++ program. So give me a second and we'll get this ready for you to go and write your first program. So after you have opened Microsoft Visual C++ 2010 Express, you are ready to start going and write your first program. So what you need to do is click on New Project, and then we're going to create a Win32 console application, so click on that. And for name, we can type in hello. You can type in whatever you want, but I'm going to use hello. And then the wizard's going to come up and you just hit next. And under additional options, select empty project and then hit finish. Now we need to add a source file for this program, which is our CPP file. So what you'll need to do is right click on source files and go under add and click on new item and select CPP file, C++ file, and I'm going to name this hello also. And then once you've done that, you can click on add. And now we're ready to start typing our code. This is the editor part of the Visual C++ software, so we can start pound include iostream using namespace std and main. And then the open bracket after the parentheses, and then cout. then the system pause, return 0, and then end the bracket. And now if you you could have either typed that just now like I did, or you could have copy and pasted it from the website. And if you're not on the website and you're just watching this on YouTube, you should definitely check out the website at nathanneal.com and go to Programming Lounge. And we have a whole bunch of programming tutorials there along with the source code for these tutorials. And so once you've had that source code put in there, hit Control F5. And it's going to say that your project's out of date. And yes, you need to build it. So you click on yes. And now it's going to build our project, compile it, and run it. And as you can see, our console window has popped up and it says welcome to C++, and press any key to continue. So our program worked perfect and it displayed the text that we asked it to display. So now you can press any key. Okay, so now you have made your first C++ program. Congratulations. Please check back to the site, and I hope you do some of the other tutorials. We're going to get more involved. The next tutorial I'm going to do is going to be on inputting and outputting. And also in the next tutorial, we're going to start talking about variables and how to input numbers and things like that. So check back to the site, and I hope you stick with it. Welcome to the world of C++.